What's going on, y'all? What's going on? It's your boy RB3. RB3 with a late night stream. RB3 with a late night stream coming to you live from Compton, California with big breaking news. Big breaking news. It is 8:53 on December 12th. Sorry, December 12th. Geez. December 4th, 2025. I am live at 8:53 p.m. on the streaming giant buys Warner Brothers Discovery, or at least buying Warner Brothers Discovery, wins bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. This is breaking news right now. I'm reacting to the news live. This is a surprise. Everybody thought Paramount was winning the bid. There was even stuff this morning in Deadline that was indicating that Paramount was very serious about winning this bid. But this is breaking news from Deadline. The news broke at 8:03. I'm 50 minutes late to this news. I tried to hop on as quickly as possible. To me, I've been following this news very closely. I'm big on the business of film. I'm big on what the implications of this deal could mean. The streaming giant, one of the first streamers, probably, arguably the first streamer, and at least the first mega streamer, the first profitable streamer. They have been the only streamer that have been profitable, at least up until 2023. Disney Plus recently reached the profitability threshold. And, HBO Max has claimed profitability for a while. Razor thin margins, kind of some accounting tricks there. But that's probably, Zaslav really trying to clean up the company and make it look good. What does Netflix buying Warner Brothers mean for the future of HBO Max? What does this mean for the future of theatrical distribution? We're talking about Warner Brothers, one of the historic movie studios, one of the first, one of the big six movie studios in the world, when there was the big six, when Disney bought Fox, the big six became the big five. And a lot of us were worried that the big five was going to become the big four, especially considering if the Paramount Skydance deal would have gone through, that would have been a disaster. That would have been the worst case scenario if Paramount had bought Warner Brothers. We should be applauding. In fact, thank you, Netflix. Thank you, Netflix, for not allowing Paramount to buy Warner Brothers. Thank you for outbidding Paramount. That would have been a disaster. We did not need to see that. We did not need to see another corporate consolidation on that scale, especially not Paramount Skydance. We had already seen a huge wave of layoffs because of Paramount Skydance merger already. They're already said to have cut some 1,000 employees already. Now imagine a Paramount and Warner Brothers merger, what that would have done to the industry. We would have been talking about thousands, tens of thousands of potential jobs lost in that situation. And that's just on the job level. Let's talk about the political implications of what Paramount buying Warner Brothers Discovery would have been. Paramount is Trump's studio. Let's just say it what it is right now. Trump has been on a crusade of making a point of being friends with David Ellison, Larry Ellison, getting chummy with this whole thing. And they have been adequately doing his bidding. They fired Stephen Colbert. They delayed South Park. I don't know if that was because of South Park or because of Trump putting his fingers all in that. Trump pushed Rush Hour 4 through, which I'm happy about. That might be one good thing to ever come out of the Trump administration is a Rush Hour 4. But we see what's happening here. And Warner Brothers Discovery is the owner of CNN. We do not want CNN in Trump's hands. CNN has already become an abomination, a shell, a hollow emptying of itself already in the past few years. But under a Trump-controlled Paramount Studio, that would have been a disaster. You've already seen the interviews with Trump talking about doing this whole, he's been talking about, Tom Cruise is his last movie star, da-da-da-da-da. He's been basically glazing all the Paramount properties because, Tom Cruise is basically the ghost top, I don't want to say ghost operator of Paramount. He's not, but he's Paramount's biggest star. I hate to say it, my man Will Smith, my favorite actor in the world, he's buddy with Paramount because there's big Saudi Arabia money coming in through that, but that's neither here or there. I'm not here to talk about that side of it. I'm really just here to talk about how that didn't happen. Thankfully, Warner Brothers is not in the hands of Paramount. Thankfully, Warner Brothers is not in the hands of NBC Universal / Comcast. Thankfully, that didn't happen either. Now, that is a better situation than what would have happened with Paramount, right? That's a better situation. But it's still one of the big four studios to collapse. One of the big five. It would be another situation of the big five becoming the big four. And we didn't want to see that either. Job losses, that would have been a disaster. The synergy there would have made a little more sense considering that Universal has Harry Potter Land. Universal has all of these parks and things that they can license Warner Brothers properties to. We got to talk about Netflix buying Warner Brothers in a DC sense. What happens to DC Studios? What happens to James Gunn? What happens to Peter Safran? What happens to New Line Cinema? What happens to HBO Max? Now, hold up. Let me actually check the chat. I doubt there's people watching. I highly doubt there's people watching. Oh, 14 people. Yo, what's good, y'all? What's good? Let me tap in. Wiley Todd with the super chat. Shout out Wiley. $4.99 super chat. Damn, that sucks. Bad man. RIP Harry Potter. Hope you're doing well, RB3. I'm doing well. Wiley Todd says means Warner Brothers theatrical movies no more. Ricardo said, RB3, what's up, man? Is this official? Is this confirmed? This is confirmed. This is on deadline. I'll be honest with y'all. I would love to show y'all my screen right now. I'm in between setups. I'm trying to upgrade the live stream to make, this stuff a lot better. The fact that we're getting clear audio and clear video is like already a big upgrade already. So let's be patient with me. But I cannot get the screen on screen for you right now just because, it'll probably crash my computer. But I'll show you right here on my phone. It's on deadline right here. Who's texting me? Don't text me. Don't text me right now. Nobody text me. Everybody shut up. Shut up. Be quiet. This is not the time. This is the biggest news in entertainment right now. Do not hit me about no fugazi, no hulati. Okay? I've been following this. I have money. I have stocks. I have about $20 of Netflix stock invested. $20 in Netflix, $30 in WB. Look, I put my money in WB because I knew where it was headed. And plus, for a while, that WB stock was like $7, $8 a share. Netflix just bought it for $28. That 20 that I put just flipped into like 60, y'all. What's going on? What's good? Anyway, deadline. This is from Deadline right here. Netflix wins bid for Warner Brothers. I'll read through it. This is from Dominique Patton and Jill Scott Goldsmith. Netflix has emerged victorious in what appears to be the highest and so far the winning bid in Warner Brothers Discovery, Deadline has learned, and we'll start exclusive talks to finalize the deal. This caps a tumultuous day that saw Paramount move aggressively to counter the giant streamer and seal a deal on its own. Netflix offered around $28 a share for WBD, according to sources, mostly in cash. Netflix got that cash. If you don't think Netflix got cash, we're going to talk about Netflix's cash in a second. It's been a fast-moving process and one that will reshape the entertainment landscape dramatically. WBD puts itself on the block in October to open up the process after receiving 3 consecutive offers from Paramount. See, this is why everybody thought it was Paramount. Everybody thought it was Paramount because it just made sense. They really wanted it. Warner's had hoped to get a deal in place by mid to late December. We're in early December. They're a little early on that. Hopefully they get that deal done. Netflix would acquire, this is important, y'all. Netflix would acquire the Warner Brothers studio and HBO Max streaming assets. Paramount's offer was for all of WBD. Now, if you're not understanding what that means right here, that means that Warner Brothers they've been trying to sell at any cost. They have been trying to because they have basically, think of Warner Brothers as 2 things, right? Because it was originally 2 things. Warner Brothers, as in the movie studio, as in HBO Max, as in Warner Brothers, as in, the lot, the properties, the IP, Warner Brothers. And then there was Discovery. Now, Discovery and Warner Brothers ended up merging together Warner Brothers Discovery ended up merging together 2021. That's when David Zaslav took over. He was originally the CEO of Discovery. That was a whole different company. Discovery mostly had TV networks. So they still have Discovery Channel, own network, and maybe 50 to 100 other channels that they own, right? So, and Discovery Plus, which is its own streaming service. So Discovery, a cable TV giant, merged with Warner Brothers, a movie studio giant, and became Warner Brothers Discovery, one company. Now, in an attempt to sell at whatever price to whoever wants to buy it, right? They were like, okay, we will sell to you as Warner Brothers. We'll sell to you as Discovery. We'll sell to you as Warner Brothers Discovery. You can have the studio, you can have the TV, or you can have both, or whatever you want. We're selling for pieces at this point. So what it appears is that Netflix did not want the Discovery side. They did not want the cable networks. They did not want the TV networks. They wanted Warner Brothers. They wanted the film studio. They wanted HBO Max and HBO. And they wanted DC. They wanted DC. This was the biggest thing that came out about this story today, which I think was a big thing. And, for a lot of people in the press and in the media, especially in the fanboy community, was what was the future of DC Studios going to look like under any merger situation, right? Now, indications were coming out that Paramount was not interested in keeping James Gunn and Peter Safran as the only exclusive runners of the DCU of the DC Studios, because basically, at least the way they describe it in the press, of course, the situation is always different, right? But the way they describe it in the press is pretty much just James Gunn and Peter Safran just running DC. Like, it's just them two. And then they have executives, of course, like board members, whatever. I'm sure everybody answers to somebody, right? But it's mostly just them two. Now, in the case of Paramount, Skydance buying Warner Brothers, yeah, it might have been Gunn and Peter, but David Ellison was going to stick his fingers in there somewhere. He was going to get his fingers dirty with that. And people were indicating like, yo, and the Ellisons, some people say they heavy in that Zionist camp. Why not bring back Gal Gadot? I'll bring back Gal Gadot's non-acting ASS and put her back in as Wonder Woman, right? How about that Matt Reeves separate Batman universe that's really popular, and we don't want to touch that, and we want to preserve artistic integrity? Nah, don't worry about artistic integrity. We gonna slide our passing in right next to goofy old David Cornsweet, who I love, both of them, Robert Pattinson and David Cornsweet. We're gonna sit this dark, broody, moody David Fincher Batman right next to bright, hopeful Scooby-Doo Superman, and we're going to act like nothing's changing. And that was going to be their plan. That was what was going to happen if Paramount brought Warner Brothers and we're running DC. It would have been the worst case scenario on all fronts. That's why, look, to be honest, the Netflix thing is not great. And Wiley has alluded to it in the chat. I'm gonna check on the chat again too right now. Wiley's alluded to it. The theatrical is not great. Losing, to a streamer is not great. But I will just say anything is better than the Paramount deal. And I think, this is probably like the second best case scenario. The first best case scenario, I think, and we all would agree, Apple TV or Apple buying Warner Brothers. That would have been the best case scenario, full stop. Because we've seen Apple be interested in theatrical. We've seen Apple have a lot of artistic freedom and artistic integrity in the products that they put out, right? Whether that's Severance, whether that's the studio, whether that's everything that they put out. It's just primetime quality stuff. The Alfonso Cuarón show that they put out that nobody watched. Everything that's on Apple is quality. And that would have been great. And F1 was a huge box office hit. The thing about Apple, Tim Cook is the CEO. And Tim Cook is not Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was an innovator. He was somebody who was very open to reinvention, open to change, open to whatever had to be done to redefine the future. He wasn't chasing a profit. He was letting profit chase Apple. That was like Steve Jobs' mentality. Tim Cook is not that guy. Tim Cook is a financial analyst. He's a financial freak. He does not invest money in anything, a single thing that is not guaranteed to make money back. That's why these iPhones and everything, MacBooks, have been really just jogging in place for the last 5-10 years since Steve Jobs died. That's why they really haven't introduced a new Apple product, like a crazy new product that's not an accessory to something else. They haven't introduced something like that since Steve died because they really don't care. I mean, they did the Vision Pro, the VR thing, but all that's to say, Tim Cook he's not interested in invention or reinventing or anything. He's focused on the bottom line. He's focused on making that money. And movie studios don't make money. That's just the simple fact of the matter. Movie studios do not make money. Streaming services make money. That's why they want to make Apple TV work. And that's why they figure, hey, we could package Apple, we could package Apple TV, we could package Apple Music, we could package Apple News, all of these things. We make all of these individual products high quality, sell them to a user for $100 a month or whatever, and we got them hook, line, and sinker. And that's their mentality, and which is frankly smart. It's smart, and it makes financial sense for them. But buying a studio would not have made financial sense for Apple. So that one was off the table. Netflix, it makes financial sense for Netflix. Netflix had $30 billion in cash, just laying around in cash. $30 billion, not 30 million with an M. 30 billion with a B. Okay? 30 billion. Okay? And recently Netflix made some interesting moves with their stock price. Recently, at the end of October, if I'm not mistaken, or in November, Netflix stock took a 10-to-1 split. So what that meant is, if you look at Netflix's current stock price now, it's probably around $110 a share, $105 a share, between $105 to $110 a share. Okay? Now, in either October or November, I have to get the exact date right, before they did this split, their stock price, no exaggeration, no funny-ish, their stock price was literally $1,100 and something dollars. Their stock price was over $1,000. For context, like I just said, Warner Brothers stock was at $8 a share. Now they're at 20. Currently, Warner Brothers stock is at 25. Netflix just bought it for 28 a share. Okay? Netflix's OG stock price was over 1,000 a share. Over 1,000 each share. That is how big of a Wall Street titan Netflix was. Let's say Warner Brothers had, in recent days, they probably had about $25 stock price, right? And let's just round things out with Netflix. It was about 1,000. Like, let's say they had $1,000 stock price. Warner Brothers had 25. That's a 400%. No, I'm sorry. That is a 4,000% increase over your competitor. Netflix, the streamer, 1,000. Warner Brothers, the studio, 25. 25 times 40, that's 1,000. 40 times the size in terms of stock price. Over 40 times the amount of value for Netflix than Warner Brothers. So Netflix said, yo, we're too valuable. We are worth too much money. It is literally impossible for retail investors, for normal investors, for our own employees to invest in our company because our stock price has gotten too high. So what did they do? They took a 10-to-1 split. And a 10-to-1 split basically said, hey, you as an investor who is currently invested right now, whoever invests, you now have 10%. Not 10%. You now have 10 times more ownership in this company in exchange for us bringing our stock price down 90%. So they are basically giving more value to the stockholder, to the investor, 10 times more value in exchange for nothing. Now, they do this right before buying Warner Brothers. Why did they do this? Now, the public statement, like they set out in their statements, was, we're doing this because we want more retail investors. We're doing this because we want more employees to invest. Because, when employees come to these companies, one of their benefits is stock bonuses. Now, if your stock price is $1,000 a share, your employees really ain't getting that much benefit from that because your stock price is so high, their shares are basically worthless. So now with this new 10-to-1 split, they're saying, hey, we're making it more open now for retail investors, we're making it more open now for employees, we're making it more open now for anybody who wants to invest in Netflix. Come on through. It's cheaper to invest and you'll have more ownership. Okay. Now, even at cutting their evaluation down by 90% in terms of their stock price, by cutting that down 90%, they still are 4 times bigger than their competitors, right? They're still 4 times bigger. They're still at $105, $110 a share versus Warner Brothers at 25. So, and again, so I said all that to say, really the reason I say all that to say is another reason they took this big, steep reduction in their stock price is also to get qualified for more loans. And, even though they have all this liquid cash and they're super profitable and all that, businesses, they ain't trying to spend all their money on one thing. What they say in the hood, if you can't afford it twice, you can't afford it once. Okay? So Netflix took, they're saying, hey, we're going to bring down stock price. We're going to get a couple loans and we're going to make our investment threshold a lot more accessible for a lot more people who want to invest in us to come on in and feel welcomed. And we're going to take all that bread. We're going to buy a legacy studio like Warner Brothers and we're going to rack it out. Now, okay, I did enough talking about business. I feel like I'm boring people. Who's still watching? 14, 12. Joseph Ashley, what's up, y'all? Kevin Davis, Wiley Todd. All right, I'm going to go from where last time I did. So what about So this is from Dick. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I can't read your name. So sorry, my friend. But he said, so what about theatrical releases now with Warner Brothers? Hello from Peru. Hello, good sir. Thank you. I'm so sorry I couldn't pronounce your name. Yeah, theatrical releases, that's a problem. That's a problem. We know Netflix has big beef with these theaters. We know Netflix does not release movies in theaters. It's not part of their business model. They've openly claimed that on numerous occasions, which is fine. Is that going to hold true? Maybe, but maybe not. I mean, you know, they are not for theaters. Theaters are not part of their model. That being said, though, you know, I think they have seen some potential in box office, right? And I mentioned that in terms of how many theatrical releases I've personally seen them put out over the past few months. Now, it's not a lot, and they don't put them in a lot of theaters, but I can comfortably say, like, you know, they do sprinkle some movies here and there. It's to some theaters in some markets, you know, like, I know that's not much. I'm grasping at straws, and it's definitely not as much as, of course, Paramount and Universal do, but they have been trying. I saw Frankenstein on the big screen. I actually saw Frankenstein in IMAX. That was great. That was a great time watching that film in IMAX. As the way Guillermo del Toro said we should. I saw Knives Out 2 in theaters when it came out, Thanksgiving of 2022. That was actually one of the early dates I took my girlfriend to see. And I love that movie. I mean, that was honestly a great theatrical experience. And then most importantly, though, I saw that one at AMC Century City, which was a packed out house. And I believe that one made something like 18, 19 million opening weekend. I'm reported because, I mean, unofficial because they don't officially report their box office numbers at Netflix, but it made money. Okay. Frankenstein made a little money. Again, they don't report it. K-Pop Demon Hunter, when they had threw that in theaters this, you know, past fall, low key made the number one at the box office that weekend. It was a weekend. I think it made I think the K-pop thing did like 15, 16 million opening, you know, on the theatrical opening weekend to get number one. Weak box office weekend, but it went number one unofficially. And then, I mean, most recently, What did I just see? Oh, I just saw Jay Kelly in theaters. I just saw Southern Netflix when that came out. Oh my gosh, my brain is fried. Train Dreams, I just saw in theaters. Anyway, so the point is they put a couple of movies here and there in theaters. It's not a lot. They definitely need to do more, especially if they're running Warner Brothers. But I mean, if you have Batman, that's the thing though. It's like, but the one thing that kind of gives me faith that they would go more in the theatrical route is because there's so much IP that you just cannot throw straight to streaming, right? Especially in DC. Like, can you imagine putting a Batman movie without a theatrical window? Like, there's no way. That's literally no joke. That's leaving hundreds of millions of dollars on the table. Now, Netflix got money. They got $30 billion in cash, but that don't mean they about to throw away half a billy on a theatrical release for Batman 2 for Matt Reeves sequel. That's not going to mean they're going to throw away 600, 700 million. Okay, after theatrical rentals and stuff, you probably get half of that profit, right? Let's say Superman 2 comes out and that will make 700 million worldwide. Okay, that's 350 million back to Netflix. And those movies are going to get made anyway because they need to have movies to support their streaming service. That's why they are buying the studio and buying the IP and buying the library. But there's just too much money to be left on the table if they don't go theatrical, especially after we've seen the year that Warner Brothers has had at the box office. Warner Brothers this year released the Minecraft movie in March, Sinners in April. What was their other ones? I'm probably not going in order here. F1 in July. What was the August one? Jesus. Look, it's late, y'all. I literally had this like all mentally prepared. August. Was that Conjuring? Something. Oh, Weapons. Weapons was August. And then Conjuring was September. And one battle after another was October. One battle didn't make that much money. But they've been on a hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. Mostly original movies. So it's like you're leaving too much money on the table by not going theatrical. They just did an exclusive deal with Greta Gerwig's Chronicles of Narnia movies with IMAX. That's also encouraging too. And I believe Chronicles of Narnia is a Warner Brothers property. New Line Cinema has been killing it. Oh, Final Destination Bloodline. That's the other one I forgot. Warner Brothers has just been killing it. There's no way. You're leaving too much money on the table by not going theatrical. And I think Netflix, to some extent, is going to recognize that. Wiley Todd, I love how fired up RB3 is. Yes, I'm fired up. I said, Maz. I was watching TV with my mom. I was watching Bel Air. Ma, cut the program. We off. I'm going upstairs. I gotta go live. It's all happening. It's happening right now. So I gotta talk about this stuff. Kevin Davis, WB content roll into Netflix is a good thing. People in Hollywood are overreacting. I don't know. You know, it's funny. I actually don't know how other people are reacting. I actually think that there are a lot of ways you can react to this, right? I'm probably taking the more positive route, the more optimistic route of discussing this, of thinking about this, because like I said, anything is better than going to Paramount. Hit that like button, y'all. Hit that like button. There's 15 watching, 8 likes. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm about to tweet out this link. Because I didn't do the link already. And you know, people got to tap in. Like, am I the only one who cares about this? Like, no, genuinely, am I the only one who cares about this? Because like I put on the news, I put on like local news, you know, and nobody was talking about this. I went on Twitter. I didn't even know. And so it was like, I like literally, like I said, I'm 50 minutes late to this. I should have, as much as I've been Googling and caring about this story, the fact that I was 53 minutes late to this story is agonizing a little bit. Like I really kind of hate myself for that. So, but it is what it is. I just saw it pop up on Complex. As soon as it popped up on Complex, I had hopped on and did actually shout out to Mr. Marino's, John Marin. My man 50 grand, Mr. Marino's, who actually posted down his story. And I saw that and it was going. We are 33 minutes into this stream. 33 minutes into this stream. I'm probably gonna go for another 30. I could go for another hour. I could literally talk about this all day. Like we could talk about the history of Warner Brothers, the legacy of Warner Brothers Studio, the long legacy. Looney Tunes. I mean, you know, gosh, dog, even before Looney Tunes, their whole suite of classic, romantic, big movies that they used to make, right? I mean, am I tripping? Is Casablanca a Warner Brothers movie? Is Gone with the Wind? Oh, I have to look that up. Let me tweet though. Let me tweet. I'm a tweet, and I'm gonna play some music that is definitely gonna get me in trouble. So this part of the stream will probably be edited out, which is fine. What do we want to listen to, y'all, while I put some tweets out? You know what? Actually, I know exactly what I actually want to listen to. Who's seen the Smash Machine? Who's seen the Smash Machine? Ooh, if you haven't seen the Smash Machine already, this is one of my favorite songs from that film. There we go. Put on a little soft jazz for y'all while we tweet. We live, y'all. First cut. I'm gonna be reading the chats in a second too. If you put in a super chat, your chat will get priority. But I'll read everything. So oh, that song goes so hard. There's at the end. Who's seen Smash Machine? Who's seen Smash Machine? Local news, you know, and nobody. Look at that, it just plays me. How do I play music and do this at the same time? I can't do that? Okay, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay. We talking about chat. Who saw Smash Machine? Honestly, one of my favorite movies of the year. Am I a bad black person if I vote for Dwayne Johnson for Best Actor? It's funny. And I'm saying this now because it's probably edited out because I'm playing the song. But, you know, I recently joined the African American Film Critics Association. Salute to me. Not to be too self-congratulatory. But this is my first time voting on any kind of awards, anything. And, of course, it's like the African American Film Critics Association. So it's like I gotta be objective, right? And vote with my heart. But at the same time, like, how do I not vote for the black people? Which is totally fine. That's what I was gonna do anyway, right? So I'm always gonna do that. But now it gets to the Best Actor conversation. And buddy of mine's, old friend of the show, Michael B.J. Yo, what's up, y'all? It's Michael B.J. Michael B. Jordan here, you know. Like to get on a little face acting time, you know. Michael B.J. is up there for Sinners, and Dwayne Johnson is up there for the Smash Machine. Dwayne Johnson is playing a white man. Also, is Dwayne Johnson black? Like, does he qualify? Like, I think he does, obviously, right? But a lot of people don't. So I am conflicted. Who do I vote for Best Actor for the African American Film Critics Association? And you're probably looking at me like, Robert, isn't it obvious? Vote for Michael B.J. He's playing two roles. He plays them both well. They're distinct. They're great. He's not just doing the face acting thing anymore. He's great. And I get that. But Dwayne Johnson is playing a white man. You know how tough that is? As a light-skinned bald, half Hawaiian, half black, nigga named Dwayne Johnson. So you playing a white man? With this kind of music in the background, with this kind of music as you're crying in the shower at the end of the movie after you almost put your hands on your white girlfriend. If that's not best acting material, I honestly don't know what is. I don't know what is. So, yeah, Dwayne Johnson, my actor of the year. That's what I'm voting for. It's probably gonna get me in trouble. Anyway, that song's over. And I tweeted, so he's gonna play again. Nah, we good on that. So yeah, and we back to talking about Netflix and Warner Brothers Discovery. And thanks for the interlude, y'all. We are. I'm gonna catch up with the chat real quick just to talk with y'all. Ricardo said, "Wow, this is huge." Omega Swiper said, "This is amazing news. Movies, wow." Hilarious. Joseph Ashley, what happens to HBO and all them other channels they own? That's a good question. Now, HBO looks like it will still be with Netflix. It will be under the Netflix window, the Netflix umbrella. That's a little concerning. It's a little concerning. HBO Max is actually my favorite streaming service in the entire world. And it's not even close. I mean, I can, like, if I'm literally pressed, because I have all the streaming services. I have HBO, Amazon, Peacock, Mubi, Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu. You name it, I got it. Literally all of them. Paramount Plus. I literally have all of them. And I really honestly struggle to watch things on a lot of streaming services because, you know, as a lot of us can relate to, there's so much to watch, but there's too much to watch. And when there's too much, there's not enough. But I know for me, when I know I need to watch, I can reliably go to a streaming service that will have something super high quality for me to watch. Literally, HBO Max is my default. Straight up, no funny-ish. And this is not like a sponsorship or anything. So it's a little concerning to see that go. We're going to have to see what happens with that. Joseph Ashley said, I was hoping Comcast comes through, but Netflix pulled the big D out. Indeed, they did. Look, they got that money. They got that big D money. They can do what they want. Joseph Ashley said, what happens to James Gunn's Superman? Again, that's what we kind of talked about. You know, I think the Netflix is a benefit overall in terms of that. Same thing Ricardo said, James Gunn's DC stuff, what happens there? Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, I think the DC is a little bit safer in Netflix's hands than it would have been in Paramount's hands. Now, I'm actually kind of sure that if they would have went to Universal and Comcast, it also would have been safe there. In fact, it probably actually would have been more safe at Universal because they have theme parks. Like, you got to think, like, this is not just about the movies or the content library or the IP. It's also about live entertainment. It's about theme parks. It's about literally anything that they can milk out of this. Comics. Now, are we going to see a surge of digital comics come from DC that are presented through Netflix? I mean, it's going to get really weird. So it's really, really good to see. You went to a theater that literally showed the Netflix movies. Yes, that's true. That is true. I think Netflix choose which goes to theaters. Be honest, some movies in theaters had no business there, but I hope they keep in theaters or get public backlash. Yeah, they will be selective with it. I think, you know, I mean, kind of a hot take, but not really. You know, everybody always says, like, in order for theaters to work, we need a lot of volume. Like, we need a lot of theatrical movies in order for theaters to work and be profitable and stuff, I don't necessarily know if quantity is the solution. I think quality really has to be the thing that we have as a threshold for theatrical movies now. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like some of these movies, like, son. And that's why I think Warner Brothers honestly had the hottest track record of the year, because their slate was so good. Okay, say what you will about Mickey 17. That didn't work. I love Mickey 17, but it didn't work from a box office standpoint. Alto Nights. Old Man De Niro. Nobody wants to see that, okay? Minecraft movie. A movie almost made $1 billion. A Minecraft movie, a video game movie, almost made $1 billion. Okay? The very next month, they released a black-led, black-directed period horror vampire movie go number one for how many weeks? Made $300 million worldwide on a $90 million budget. That's actually insane. Like that, you are actually achieving the unachievable. Okay? The very couple months after that, released a Brad Pitt racing movie that I didn't even like. I didn't like F1. I didn't like that movie. Okay? But it was a fun theater experience. It was a great time in 4DX. I mean, one of the best times I ever had in 4DX. Made $500 million. So their slate, instead of Final Destination Bloodline, had like a, what did Final Destination Bloodline have? Something like an 89, 90% Rotten Tomatoes. That never happened for any Final Destination movie ever. And that's why that movie made over $200 million worldwide. This is what I'm saying. Like, Warner Brothers, what they put out? Like 10, 15 movies this year. They didn't even have none for the back half of the year. But when you put out 10 to 15 really, really, really good movies, that's all you need. That's all these studios need. That's what Disney figured out. And of course, they have bombs like Tron Ares. You know, they have things that underperformed, like My Baby, Thunderbolts. Love Thunderbolts. Love Thunderbolts. But let's be real, it didn't do what it had to do. Fantastic Four did okay. But then I say that, you know, those movies did okay. I like Fantastic Four. I like Thunderbolts. Tron Ares I didn't like. But quality slate. And when they have a quality slate and their brand is dependably quality, people will show up for the next thing. So even though Thunderbolts is okay, even though Fantastic Four is okay, people still gonna show up for Avatar Fire and Ash. People still showed up for Zootopia 2. People still showed up for Lilo and Stitch because they only focused on making 10 to 12 to 15 high quality theatrical movies. That's all a studio really needs. And that also gives way for, let's be real, we need to see the rise of these indie studios become prevalent. I mean, Neon, A24, all of that, they're the only ones making adult movies anymore. So why not let these big studios, you know, drag it out with their blockbusters and their tadpoles? We let the mid-budget studios like the Neons, the A24s, the IFCs, you know, handle the medium budget movies, grow their audience there, give film fans and film adults what they really want. And then the streamers, hey, now maybe y'all start playing with theatrical too, because y'all see Warner Brothers is winning and y'all seeing that these movies that go theatrical actually do better on streaming than they would have done otherwise. So, you know, I think that's the move. Let's see here. Ayo, Brian Clark. Let me see. Okay, well, actually, let me go up a little bit. Let me go up a little bit. Um, Eric Weber is big. Says Omega Swiper. Joseph Ashley said, I'm okay with Netflix winning than Paramount. Omega Swiper said he care. Okay, people care. The 15 people watching care. That's kind of funny. Eric Weber broke it. Oh, shout out to Eric Weber broke it. Clark Bryant said, you and John Campia so far are the only ones who post the videos about it. I found your stream by accident and hit subscribe. Thank you for subscribing, my man. Thank you for subscribing, bro. Really, really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. Joseph Ashley said, do they own Warner Brothers Music? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Oh, does Netflix own Warner Brothers Music? That's a good question. That is a good question. We have to figure that out right now. Joseph Ashley also said, hopefully we'll get more Black content back on films and TVs. Seems like they erased all the color off TV. That's for damn show. That's for dang show. Unfortunately, I don't think that situation is going to get that much better. I do think Netflix is somewhat more open to diversity than at least what the previous Warner Brothers regime was, because you look at a slate and it was like all white movies except Sinners and One Battle. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess Mickey 17 had Naomi Aki. Yeah. But, and then, you know, F1 had Damson Idris. Supporting character. The only black-led movies they really had was Sinners. So I kind of, but you look at Netflix on the flip side, though. Netflix this past year, actually, what has Netflix put out that's black-led? I can't even think about it off the top of my head of this year, at least. Somebody let me know in the comments. I'm surprised Disney didn't try to buy Warner Brothers. No, they would never want to. They would never want to do that. That's too much overlap. And no, Disney and Disney honestly is not even the best situation that they should be in right now too. Even though on paper they're very profitable and a lot of movies do make a lot of profit, but there's a whole shareholder fight going on. There's a bunch of succession, weird stuff going on, and they don't have the resources or the bandwidth to buy another studio, especially after Fox. I think they're honestly still trying to figure out Fox, like how they're still trying to figure out that whole situation. Dr. Ed, Dr. Eda. Oh, Elijah? Yo, Elijah, is that you, my man? Elijah, is that you, my boy? Tap in. Dr. E. Dunban said, I think that's my boy Elijah. Netflix buying Warner Brothers is legit going to hurt cinemas. Is GGS. It is going to hurt cinemas. That is true. I mean, look, you know, it really just depends on if Netflix is willing to budge their business model a little bit, which I just think it just makes too much business sense to not reevaluate your business model sometimes. Because, yeah, like, there's just too much money to leave on the table. Like I said, you can't release a Batman film. You can't release a Batman film straight to Netflix. Like, there's literally no mathematical calculation in which that would make sense. Like, there's no way. There's no way. Okay? There's no way a Superman film is going straight to Netflix and making I'm telling you, like, a board member or shareholder, somebody is going to get mad at the fact that you're leaving $500 million on the table. Not imaginary, not fake, not phony. No, literally. We've seen how almost every Batman movie can make $1 billion. The Robert Pattinson one made over 800 or close to $800 million. And that was during peak COVID. During COVID, it did that. So, like, come on, y'all. Like, you know, there's too much money on the table to be left by not going theatrical. So it's like Netflix has to. Like, it just wouldn't make sense financially. Barbie, $1 billion movie like Barbie, and they will leave $1 billion on the table. They will leave $1 billion on the table. You believe that? You believe they would let a Minecraft movie too, $1 billion, $500 million on the table? I don't care how much money Netflix has. I don't care how high their stock price is. It just wouldn't make financial sense. It just wouldn't make financial sense. For them, this little Knives Out, whatever, it's cool. They think of it as like a prestige piece, a way to get Rian Johnson on board, a way to get Daniel Craig movies on their platforms, whatever. But, we're not talking about Daniel Craig solving mysteries. We're talking about Batman. We're talking about Superman. We're talking about F1. Maybe F1 still goes to like Apple. I don't know. We're talking about, what else was WBI? Lord of the Rings. Harry Potter. Hold on. We have to talk about Harry Potter. The Harry Potter of it all. Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Harry Potter is one of the biggest IPs in the world. Point blank, period. They are still, I walked into Barnes and Nobles today. They still have Harry Potter books at the front of the store. At the front. Like, as in, buy them now. Like, new collectible editions of Harry Potter books. There's still cultural phenomenons. The Harry Potter video game last year that came out was actually one of Warner Brothers games, most successful games that they've ever released. And they're already in development of that new HBO series that could go here or there, whatever. I'm sure it's going to be trash. And they might just keep milking it for TV shows, but you got to think at some point they want that Harry Potter money. You got to think at some point they want a Cursed Child movie. And Netflix has the bread. Netflix has the bread to bring back Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and the other homeboy to do that. That'd be crazy. And, in Omega Swiper, you took the words right out of my mouth, right as I was just about to say this. We've seen what Warner Brothers plus streamer can do together with F1. F1 was a phenomenal hit. If they take the F1 model, and that's all they have to do, take the F1 model and apply that to all of their tentpoles, whatever, I don't know how to pronounce that, tentpoles, Ted, shout out Ted. They do that, do the F1 formula on Batman, on Superman, on Harry Potter, on Lord of the Rings. What's another IP they got? Conjuring. What's another IP they got? I mean, the list is endless. They could go all day. They could literally go all day with tentpole after tentpole, and they got money to pay for it too. It's not like Paramount where you got to get all this shady Saudi Arabia money, all this shady, money that's from countries and dictators that you just don't know about. I mean, Netflix probably got a lot of money too, don't get me wrong, but they paying for most of this deal out of cash. Yeah, Omega Swiper said F1 show was possible. Elijah, what's good, man? Thanks for tapping in, bro. Thanks for tapping in. Rebel Moon did it, wasn't successful. Did they put Rebel Moon out in theaters? I didn't know that. If they did, that'd be crazy. If they didn't put Rebel Moon, see, that's the thing too. Like, how much better or more successful would have Rebel Moon been as a theatrical movie, right? I don't know. I actually never saw that series. 26 people tapping in. Thanks for tapping in, y'all. Thanks for tapping in. Joseph Ashley. So, was Warner Brothers still on Prince music? I have to ask about that. Joseph Ashley says this would be straight up retarded to Batman go straight to stream. It is straight up retarded. You're right. I'm seriously worried about HBO. Netflix shuts down shows after 2 seasons, except their darling shows like Stranger Things or Daredevil. You are right. You are right. You actually are right about that. They do cancel shows a lot quicker than HBO. HBO is not really about the ratings; it's more about the prestige with HBO. So even if a show does low ratings, but it wins a bunch of Emmys, they're still going to keep that on air. Netflix isn't that way, unfortunately. Real ones. Mr. Marin, John Marin knows, man. John Marin. Oh God, does it mean the Snyderverse could become a thing again? Oh, you're right. Zack Snyder has that deal with Netflix. You know what I'm saying? Army of the Dead, Rebel Moon, and look, the Snyderverse is a thing. Maybe it happens. He's been tweeting about that too. Zack Snyder, he's been tweeting and on his little social media thing. So it's kind of crazy. I really will wonder how that goes. Mr. Marinos, see, thank you, John. Thank you, John, for tapping in, because he was literally the person I was about to text about this. If anybody's free, John, I don't know if Sabrina's watching. I don't know if Andres is watching. If anybody want to tap in, feel free to tap in with your boy. John said, I don't think this deal affects the music. Warner Records is kind of his own thing, although it's under the same umbrella. Yeah. I can see it being separate. Guess what gets Snyder Bros going rejoicing more than new slow motion films? Hey. I like Zack Snyder. Elijah, physical media might be cooked. Yeah. There's no way to shake that one. I mean, theatrical, I still think is a possibility. But yeah, home entertainment, they're not investing heavy in Blu-rays. It would literally have to be a contractual thing from one of the directors or producing team or something like that. Fortunately, that could end up resulting in a lot of like lost media too, because they just wipe anything. They could wipe anything. There was another Deadline article that came out about this merger. I'm going to read it now. Actually, this is from the Hollywood Reporter. This is from the Hollywood Reporter. This is actually just the same story, but rewritten. I love how if you didn't realize, the Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Deadline, they are all literally owned by the same company, PMC Media, Penske Media Company, if I'm not mistaken, PMC. They literally own Variety, Deadline, Hollywood Reporter, IndieWire. They own all of these sites. So they all post the same stories. They're just written in like slightly fancier words. So it's kind of funny. Then they all have the same sources. So it's like, why even have different websites? Like, what the heck? What's the point? The Hollywood Reporter said, in a deal that would dramatically change the entertainment industry, Netflix, led by Ted Sarantos and Craig Peters, is poised to win the battle for Warner Brothers Discovery Studios and HBO Max streaming business. Netflix has entered into exclusive talks with the David Zaslav-led WBD after topping rival bids from Paramount and Comcast. I'm just trying to see if there's any new information in this article. They say Bloomberg, which first reported the news, said Netflix had offered a $5 billion breakup fee should the deal not be allowed to go through. An enormous sum to offset concerns about regulatory challenges. That's the other thing too. Will the government approve this? Will Trump administration approve this? It seemed like Trump was really on the side of Paramount, and that's what it seemed like it was going, but it might not be the case. If the companies agree on a final deal, they will need to deal with U.S. regulators. with leaks to the New York Post suggesting that the Department of Justice is already planning a legal challenge. European regulators may also be skeptical of the deal. Netflix is likely to argue that the video platform is much broader than just subscription streaming. It could point to YouTube's domination of video viewing as a counterweight to any arguments they make. You know, and that's funny too, because there has been this whole narrative going around that YouTube, like Netflix says their biggest competitor isn't movies or movie theaters. Their biggest competitor is YouTube. They've been running with that line consistently recently. And I wonder if that's if they have been doing that kind of low-key in preparation for a deal like this. And meanwhile, Warner, okay, and this is, again, going through the specifics of the deal. Should this deal go through, Netflix will become the steward of one of the industry's most storied film studios and one of its most prolific TV studios. Again, HBO. And also, Warner Brothers TV is also his own studio that they produce shows for as well. The fate of this theatrical releases and its productions for other streaming services and TV channels could hang in the balance. And HBO and HBO Max, arguably the most prestigious brand in TV, could become part of the Netflix portfolio. And this is important, y'all. Meanwhile, WBD's linear TV assets, including CNN, TNT, CBS, HGTV, and Food Network, would continue to be spun off into their own company. Interesting. So CNN is not part of this deal. CNN is not part of Netflix. Interesting. So they still have the possibility of getting bought up. So that possibility of getting bought up. Real One said, RP to the Warner Brothers anniversary steelbooks. I've been patiently waiting for Lethal Weapons 2 through 4. Yeah, we need that. We need that. Shiesty Berry said cinema is officially cooked. We are heading to a cooked territory. Joseph Ashley said, Miss Blu-rays, I don't trust streaming. Some stuff never returns. You're right. That's the biggest thing, is like you never own anything. Real One said, I don't know if you touched on it, but Toronto said, Tess Toronto's called movie theaters outdated. To quote Star Wars, I have a bad feeling about this. Yeah, I have a bad feeling about it too. Again, I would just hope that Warner Brothers Discovery understands how much money they'd be leaving on the table by not releasing $1 billion Barbie movie or $1 billion Superman movie or $1 billion Batman movie or $1 billion Lord of the Rings movie or $1 billion Harry Potter movie. Like, there's just so much IP, so much material out there. It's just too good to not cash in on. Now, for movies like Sinners, for movies like One Battle After Another, original movies that are devoid of IP, I wonder what they'll do with that, But at the same time, on the flip side, then we get into the conversation of, well, what is IP anymore? Are directors IP, right? Like, is Coogler a big enough name to sell a movie to get people in the theaters? I would think so. I mean, that would be my calculation, right? Like, you look at literally Ryan Coogler's box office records: Creed, Black Panther 2, Sinners. He's an event filmmaker. It's like you can't not release the event filmmakers movie in theaters. It just can happen. You're leaving money on the table. Kingslayer said HBO Max will merge into Netflix now. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. That actually makes me sick. Oh, HBO Max is my favorite streaming service. The Wire, Sopranos currently, Penguin. I mean, I could I'm not even joking, gang. Like, literally, when I'm at night, when I need to find a TV show to watch, if I don't already have something on the brain, like Pluribus isn't like on, Apple TV, or if it isn't like I'm watching some movie that is an award contender or something, then if I literally have nothing to watch, my first move is to just go to HBO and just browse for like 30 seconds. Literally, I'll find something. Like either I'm rewatching Sopranos, or I go to their Turner Classic Movie section, or I go to their A24 section, like, or I go to their Studio Ghibli section. Like, there's literally just too much good content on HBO Max. I hate seeing that one go. Oh, that actually makes me sick. Shanty Berry says, surprised Amazon didn't even try to buy Warner's. They wouldn't, and they shouldn't. They already own MGM, which is another legacy historic studio, which also has really close ties to Warner Brothers. And the government the government wouldn't allow that to happen. Amazon, literally, I don't even think they want that to happen. I think Amazon's experiment with MGM has largely been a failure. They have not been winning with MGM lately. They have had a few theatrical hits. The Jason Statham, David Ayer movies, like A Working Man, and what was the one that came before that? The Beekeeper. Those did well. A Time to Die did okay. I forgot if that one was Amazon or Sony who distributed that one. They're going to do the next James Bond movie with Denis Villeneuve. But I think for the most part, I think even Amazon would acknowledge that that's been kind of a mistake. Like, that's been kind of a misfire buying MGM overall. The only benefit for me as a film fan is seeing all those classic MGM movies on Amazon Prime. Like, I just watched The Apartment the other day, 1960s Billy Wilder. Great film. His Girl Friday is on there. There's a bunch of classic movies that you can now find on Amazon that are great. They also have a lot of blaxploitation movies on there, weirdly enough, on Amazon Prime. But yeah. No, Amazon would not want to buy another studio. They already failed with MGM. They don't want another failure. And buying Warner Brothers, they don't know what to do with a studio. They just don't know. They don't know. They bought that property out in Culver City, and they don't know what to do with it. Same thing Joseph Ashley said, why Amazon didn't try to buy Warner Brothers. They have, look, all these companies, they have infinite money, but the reason they have infinite money is because they spend it wisely. You know, Apple, they're not in the business of losing money. Amazon, they tried to be in the business of losing money, but then they realized, yo, hold up, losing money is not fun. We're not buying any more studios. We're not buying any more anything. We're just gonna write this James Bond thing till the tails fall off, and that's that. Kingslayer, James Gunn's DC universe finished already. I don't think they would kill the DC. I don't think they would kill James Gunn's DC at Netflix. I don't think that would happen. I think the one thing that we reliably know about Netflix, almost to a fault, is that they are very creative freedom. Like, they are the most creative freedom out of all of the pseudo creative freedom people out there. I mean, they're so far into the creative freedom realm that half of their stuff is trash. That's why Netflix kind of has the reputation of like, yo, half of this stuff is dog doo-doo. Yeah, that's true, because they don't give notes. Like, they don't have a bunch of feedback. Like, I think David Fincher's even talked about it before. Like, he says working on Netflix is like working on an indie movie. Like, there's not really, like, they have executives and they assign executives to movies and stuff, but they don't really give notes. They don't really push back. Things just kind of happen, and they don't really push back on things. And you see that when they let Scorsese put out a 3-hour, 41-minute Irishman. You know what I'm saying? You see that with the Rebel Moon, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about the creative. I'm worried about the distribution and the exhibition of these things. But the creative of it, I'm never worried about that. And I think James Gunn, I think his job is definitely safe. I think James Gunn was low-key kind of praying it was going to be either Netflix or Paramount Warner Brothers. He was probably hoping more for I'm sorry, not Paramount. He was probably hoping for either Netflix or he was probably hoping for Universal, you know? And he probably wanted Universal a little bit more, but like, trust me, Netflix is not gonna be giving notes. They don't give notes on nothing. So Real One said, what's worse, the possibility of Bezos owning Warner Brothers or the reality of SOUNDCLOUD and Netflix? Yeah, I mean, that is true. I mean, Bezos was stripping for parts. It would be crazy. I do think Netflix would probably be the better option for in some respects than Amazon. In my opinion. Joseph Ashley said, "I hope Warner Brothers animation stays working. Holidays is perfectly evil time to fire folks. Yeah, hopefully Warner Brothers animation stays good. I mean, again, I want to big up Netflix. Like, I'm gonna do this whole segment sound like I'm bigging up Netflix. Netflix, and I shouldn't because they've done a lot of crazy things. But credit is due. They have a lot of good animation on Netflix. They have a lot of good animation on there. They have a lot of good anime on there. Like, their anime collection is next level on Netflix. So yeah, they're doing pretty okay in the animation front. Shanty Berry said, ending James Gunn's universe now would mean ending the DC universe itself. Another reboot will absolutely destroy the company. No company is stupid enough, especially after how well Superman did. Yeah. That's the biggest thing too. Like, it's not even a good business decision to reboot. Like, they just rebooted. It wouldn't even make business sense. I don't even think, like, for one, this deal hasn't even officially fully gone through. I still think it will go through. That's why I want to tap in now. But, by the time it finally goes through, it'll probably be mid to late 2026 when it's finally done. Netflix ownership probably ain't going to give a note on the DC film until 2027. And by that point, we're cooking with grease. We're cooking with Supergirl and Clayface and the Lantern Corps movie or show or whatever they're doing, the Lanterns show, and Superman 2 will be right on the way. So by that time, like, I think we should be more than good on where the DC is going to be. Joseph Ashley said, didn't Netflix try to buy movie theaters? Yeah, Netflix owns, as John Marin pointed out, Netflix owns the Paris Theater in New York and the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood. I also believe they own another theater in Hollywood and LA too. It's not the Vista. It's one of those. Joseph Ashley, I'm scared for HBO. Netflix takes chances, but HBO does great docs and movies. Yeah, they're the best. I mean, they're unmatched. I mean, they're literally unmatched. I mean, they're the best at it. I can't deny that. I hate to see that go. Kingslayer said, Game of Thrones content on Netflix now, House of Dragons, etc. Yeah. And again, what does that mean for the creative of Game of Thrones? What does that mean for the series? Will there be a movie version of Game of Thrones? Will there be more interactive kind of content that Netflix likes to do with Game of Thrones? Like, how will they milk this IP? Will they put it, and that's the thing too, that when you have a company with a lot of cash and that acts kind of irresponsibly like Netflix does, they might mess around and build like a whole like Game of Thrones world in like Vegas or something, or like do some like, Harry Potter land in like New Mexico, somewhere weird where they don't have to pay property taxes, but still want to get off like a crazy like land. And I bet you they'll probably do some crazy stuff like that because they have so much money and so much stock and so much power in this industry. Kazan said, one of the positives I like is that it shows like Welcome to Derry season 2 and House of the Dragons will get 5 times more viewership at Netflix. It probably will. I haven't watched Welcome to Derry. That show's too scary for me, man. That show is too scary for me. That is a scary show. 37 people watching. Shout out to everybody watching right now. Shout out to everybody watching. We've been streaming for a minute. We've been streaming for an hour and 20. Gosh dang, we've been streaming. Thank y'all to everybody for tapping in. Hit that like button. If you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button. First Cut Live will be returning officially. I am announcing it right here, right now. First Cut Live will be officially returning on Monday, December 15th. Monday, December 15th. Mark your calendars. Be there. And guess what? We're going live every single Monday. Every single Monday. starting December 15th. So December 15th, First Cut Live, officially coming back every single Monday. I don't have a time locked in yet. We don't have a time locked in yet. We're going to do it with Sabrina and Andres and probably John. And, maybe you'll see Kate on here. You'll probably see Dylan. You'll probably see a lot of, First Cut familiars on here. Janine the Machine. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of us are going to be here. So just subscribe, tap in Monday, December 15th. There's going to be a lot of big announcements coming with First Cut. We're done with this Fugazi. We here for 2 weeks and then we go away for 4 months. We're not doing that anymore. We're back to consistency and we're going to start warming up to what we're doing. But hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, but especially hit that like button because it's 44 y'all watching and only 19 likes. The math ain't mathing. So, Giancarlo Gonzalez DeVille left a bunch of emojis. Shout out to that emoji. I don't know what emoji that is. Dave Miller said Netflix almost certainly won't be approved by the FTC. They already said they won't do it. Look, the government says they won't do a lot of things, but they do a lot of things. They go to wars, they put on tariffs, they raise the prices of eggs and groceries. They do a lot of things that they say they're not going to do, but it ultimately ends up going that way because that's just how this country works. And whoever got money, whoever got capital, whoever got power is going to make it work. And like they outlined in the Hollywood Reporter article, their argument is already laid out for them. Hey, we're not buying Warner Brothers because we're trying to monopolize the entertainment industry. We're buying Warner Brothers for a chance to compete for space in the internet, for space to compete against YouTube. We're not competing against other studios. We are competing against YouTube. It's Netflix versus YouTube, and we are losing because YouTube has way more content than we do. So we need to buy Warner Brothers to compete. That's going to be their argument. And that's a winning argument. That's the argument you can always win, especially in a government where you can pay for pardons and pay to get out of prison. So that's just how it's going to work. Dave Miller says James Gunn's contract hasn't been renewed. Superman grossly underperformed. Peacemaker and Creature Commandos failed. There will be changes. Okay, all right. I feel like somebody here doesn't like James Gunn. Hey, man, come on, man. Superman didn't grossly underperform. Superman didn't underperform at all. It made, 700 million worldwide? That's incredible. And then Peacemaker didn't fail. I mean, that was highly talked about. The ending was a disaster. That's for sure. The ending was weak. We talked about that here on First Cut, but it didn't fail. And Creature Commandos didn't fail. Come on, man. Don't hate on James Gunn. We like James Gunn around here. Travis Kima said, for real, Warner Brothers, Netflix got Warner Brothers. Yeah, it's for real. Check Deadline, check Hollywood Reporter, check all the sites, check all the Penske media, because we're all reporting the same thing. Skywalker Brian said, hi, I'm new here. What would it mean for the theme parks division considering Universal has a long-running contract with Warner Brothers and Harry Potter and Six Flags for DC and their attractions too? I wouldn't be surprised if they wouldn't mind keeping those licensing agreements, at least with Warner Brothers at least with Universal and Harry Potter. The Harry Potter land is so good. It's so detailed. It was hand-picked and approved by J.K. Rowling. And I don't think Netflix would want to destroy that relationship no matter how trash J.K. Rowling is. So it's like, they're gonna preserve that. I think that will stay. The DC characters at Six Flags, that's a different question. I don't think that's lasting very long. For one, Six Flags, they've been going out of business for a long time. The parent company of Six Flags has been going through a lot of financial difficulties. I think they were either have already sold to private equity or in the process of selling to private equity. So Six Flags is already a lost cause. We're not going to see Six Flags in the next 5 years, regardless. Six Flags is already borderline shut down anyway. So I don't see why Netflix wouldn't try to either make a DC land or, again, they built that whole little theme park thing next to Area 51 in Las Vegas. And they put stuff in there like Stranger Things and all that kind of stuff. But Stranger Things is ending. And then they try to do like a year-round horror thing. That's okay. But imagine a DC land in Vegas. That's an attraction. That is something that people will fly to Vegas for. That's something that people will fly to go to that Netflix thing for. By the way, I think I'm biased towards Netflix because I went to their restaurant last time I went to Vegas. I went to their restaurant called Netflix Bites. They got literally a Netflix restaurant full with menu items from all of their properties and IP. So like, you know, you could have a Stranger Things chicken and waffles. You could have, you know, a Bridgerton tea set. You know what I'm saying? That was great. That was great. And that's what I'm saying. Netflix has so much money that they could burn money on stupid crap like that. Like, why wouldn't they buy Warner Brothers? And why wouldn't they do a good job? Because that food was good and their movies will probably be good. And then John said, welcome to Darius, my jam. Can't wait to talk about the next real ones. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm glad you're watching that. I can't. It's too scary. Like, literally, I watched the first episode. I was like, bruh, this is too scary. I'm scared. I'm trembling. This ain't real. I couldn't do that one. And Skywalker Brian said, even for the sports end of things, would WWE retain Netflix or be combined both platforms of HBO Max or keep separate from AEW and stuff like that? I don't know how interesting. I mean, Netflix might keep the WWE rights. It seems like they're kind of going everywhere with that, right? Because they have some programming on Peacock, they have some programming on Netflix, they have some programming on ESPN/Disney Plus. They're kind of all over the place with that. All we know is that WWE likes the bag. If they come back asking for a bigger bag next time and Netflix says no, they turn in their back. That's all that really is. It literally, there's no way you could hold Vince McMahon's hand and tell him, we're going to combine you with AEW. We're going to put you on HBO Max without some sort of big compensation. And again, Netflix has that compensation, but is it worth it for the WWE? Like, we actually never see, you know how Netflix puts out their top 10 programs of the week every week, you know, that they put out that? We never seen them put WWE on that top 10 programming once. How good are the ratings for WWE actually? I don't know if they're there. I don't know if people really care about WWE as much. Joseph Ashley says, does Warner Brothers own Six Flags? I see a lot of their rides at Magic Mountains. No, they don't own Six Flags. They just license those stuff. So the Green Lantern ride, the Superman ride, all that, those are just licenses. And the day that Warner Brothers decides to pull those licenses, boom, them rides is gone. Say less. Your boy must got something to say about Quentin Tarantino. Yeah, you know, John Maron's gonna say something about Tarantino. What's up? It's loud and cracking. Skywalker Brian says, no, Six Flags has contracting rights towards DC, and WBD has a Middle Eastern park in Abu Dhabi devoted towards their IPs from DC, Looney Tunes, and so it says has the contracting rights. Oh yeah, you're responding to Joseph Ashley. Yeah, they don't own that. Karen said Harry Potter on Netflix. Yeah, that would be huge numbers, like literally unimaginable numbers. Like we're talking about 30 billion. We're talking about 30 million viewers a week kind of numbers with a Harry Potter show on Netflix. That will literally go stupid. Anonymous said, in my opinion, Netflix's strength is their ability to pivot even going against the no advertising and no live sports. What do you think Warner Brothers would blow up? What do you think that Warner Brothers would blow up with the Netflix effect? I mean, I think there's a lot of things that are primetime that's a perfect marriage of a brand and Netflix. I mean, to me, It's those long running franchises, right? So I go back to Final Destination. You know, when a Final Destination Bloodline comes out, you know, you obviously have 8 movies or 7 movies before that. What will Netflix do? And you already know Netflix does this all the time. They will push all 7 of them previous Final Destination movies on your feed all day, every day, until you decide to watch the new one in theaters. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, just by the fact that they have this high viewership at Netflix that are dedicated, that are super, super loyal to everything that they do, is just going to result in more money being made when they push that audience towards things that they need to spend money on. And actually, we're not even talking about the e-commerce side of Netflix, right? Because Netflix has their own shop. Netflix has their own shopping integrations that are built into Netflix, right? They have their own merch lines for a lot of these things. So, you know, the merch possibilities are literally endless. And yeah, you know, streaming, you know, I think Warner Brothers has shown that they're a very old head studio just in who they work with, who they stay loyal to, you know, working with Clint Eastwood for hundreds of years, and that Nolan on their roster for a long time. And they try to hopefully keep A-list directors and auteurs on their rosters through that. Netflix also has a good relationship with that. But I think to answer your question, I don't know if there's necessarily, I guess to answer your question, Anonymous, do we need Warner Brothers movies to have a Netflix effect, or do we need Netflix to have a Warner Brothers effect? That's kind of what I'm thinking, right? Like, we don't need to see Warner Brothers movies do great on streaming, because we've seen that a bajillion times. We need to see what a Netflix movie looks like during theatrical. And I think that marriage of the mind, that marriage of the brands, I think that would be the biggest thing. And I think, to me, I'd be excited to see what the Warner Brothers effect on a movie like K-Pop Demon Hunter would have been, for example, right? How K-Pop Demon Hunter became the highest streamed movie of the year, one of the highest streamed movies of all time, and they didn't even put it in theaters until like 4 or 5 weeks after it came out on Netflix. Now imagine what a studio apparatus like Warner Brothers would have did with that. Maybe they would have flopped it. Maybe they would have let it fall to the winds. But maybe, just maybe, they would have put that same spice on it that they put for Barbie, that same spice on it that they put for a Minecraft movie. And that movie also could have made $1 billion. So to me, it's not about Warner Brothers getting the Netflix effect. I want to see Netflix get the Warner Brothers effect and see what that looks like, because that could be powerful. That could be powerful. Real ones, John, can Netflix go digging in the trash and unearth that Batgirl movie? Yo, honestly, that would be the exact kind of thing Netflix would do too. That would be the exact kind of thing Netflix would do. I would love to see that. I would really love to see that. Because, and you know they would too. Like, Netflix, they'll put out any kind of trash on their platform and be happy with it because people will watch it. Joseph Ashley, I don't like Netflix binge model. I like weekly, like Welcome to Derry and HBO shows. That's the huge problem for me. Taking over. Okay, so this is where I'm the ultimate contrarian. I actually hate the week-to-week stuff. I actually think that is so annoying. I like all of my stuff now. I am the definition of a microwave consumer. You know, I want to binge something in one night and forget about it the next day. That's how I like to watch TV. Okay, so and I like to finish the story. I don't like to, you know, start a story, then wait a week, and then go try to reinvest back into that story, and then wait another week. And sometimes it just really doesn't work for me. I will say, honestly, the HBO show that didn't work for me on was The Chair Company. The Chair Company actually, and I know a lot of people love it. I know a lot of brothers love it. I didn't like it. I didn't like it, especially by the end of it. Like, I felt like every week, we kept going deeper and deeper into this stupid mystery that they set up. And I'm getting less and less fulfilled to the point of like, okay, I'm 8 episodes deep now and I still don't have any answers. Oh, and that was the finale? Wait. You just told me that was the season finale? And I'm still confused? Like, I have to take the same waiting kind of like thinking mentality that I've had for these past 8 weeks, and I gotta hold that for another year. Nah. I hate it. It honestly, to me, I've said this before. The week to week model, it really highlights what a good show is versus a bad show. Because if you binge a bad show, at least you binge it and then you're over with it. But if you do week to week on a bad show, or a show you don't like, not a bad show, a show you don't like, it really sticks with you because now you just had 8 weeks of just pontificating on how much you don't like something. And yeah, I'm not with that. So that's just me personally. Still Bill came in with the $1.99 super chat. Thank you. Yo, Wiley, Still Bill, much appreciated, man. Thank y'all for coming through. And supporting. We need that support. Again, subscribe to First Cut. Hit that like button. A lot of y'all have been hitting that like button, so really, really thank y'all. Captain Nebel said no. Amen and TT Go 2 channel. Oh, Amen and Teen Titans Go channel. Is that what you are? It Welcomes to Gary is really going to be big on Netflix. Yo, y'all love this show, huh? Y'all love it. The dairy joint, huh? Gosh, dang. Should I watch it? Is it valid? Is it like? Does it get scarier than the first episode? Yo, because I'm telling you, I watched that first episode. It was like, I'm out. I couldn't. Yo, that scared literally the crap out of me, dog. I ain't watching that. Karen, Warner Brothers owns so much IP is going to be wild. Yeah. I think that's what Netflix is really going after is the IP, the Lord of the Rings, the Harry Potters. I don't even know if they own Lord of the Rings. Actually, that might be an Amazon MGM thing. I don't know. But Harry Potter for sure. The It stuff for sure. DC stuff, of course. Looney Tunes. Can this mean the revival of Looney Tunes? We've seen Looney Tunes slowly die out from under Warner Brothers Discovery. Whether that be removing all of the Looney Tunes cartoons, whether that be all this other stuff they've been doing, the canceling the movies, the Acme movie that they did with the Will Forte or whatever, or Will Arnett. Like, and John Cena, that's all real bad. That's big bad. How they treating these classic animations. I think Netflix will kind of want to shine that up a little bit. I mean, Netflix wants more kid programming on their stuff. So I think they would want that. Real One said, Tess Sarantos, if you see this, give Princess Under the Cherry Moon the 4K treatment and throw that joint on Netflix, please. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Because that movie's it was on Amazon for a second. It goes on and off of Amazon, weirdly enough. Joseph Ashley, I get binge, but having something at all at once ends the conversation quickly, where weekly it still continues the conversation. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is the benefit of weekly. I'm literally just a personal hate. There's a personal grudge for me. I definitely see the benefits of weekly, not only from a studio/TV network standpoint, but also from a media/discussion standpoint as well. I'm gonna go for another, man, we've been going for an hour and 39, y'all. Hour and 39, about 40 people watching. We're about to tap out soon. Before we go, I just wanted to go through the history of Warner Brothers as a studio and kind of highlight some of their most iconic movies, shows, and moments in history. So Warner Brothers was founded in 1923. Founded by Jack Warner, Sam Warner, Albert Warner, and Henry Warner, aka the Warner Brothers. Now they have, they have gone through several name changes. They've gone through several parent companies, several buyouts, whether that be under the tutelage of Warner Communication, which it was through a lot of the 70s through 90s, Warner's Media, which had multiple deals, whether that was with AT&T, all these other entities that got involved for a second, and then Warner Brothers Discovery, its most recent business venture. Now, and you actually read up a lot about this history. There's a lot of great books about this history. If you know anything about old Hollywood, it was really just old gangsters moving from the East Coast, taking their gangster money and investing into films. The Warner Brothers themselves were similar. They weren't actual gangsters themselves, but they did take money from questionable sources. But that's okay because so did everybody. And, they started out actually as a theater. They invested $150 to acquire a movie projector in 1903, where they actually opened their first theater in Newcastle, Pennsylvania in 1903. And showed the Great Train Robbery. From there, they went on to try to continue to make their own movies. Instead of just owning the theaters, they wanted to make movies. And so they have movies to play in their theaters. And one of their biggest things that they are really known for is pushing the innovation of sound, synchronized sound on film, is adding sound to motion pictures. Because of course, early film technology was not adequate enough to have sound be paired with the movie. But they were pioneers in adding sound. If you've seen Babylon, that movie with Margot Robbie and I forgot who else was in it, Brad Pitt, they kind of go through a lot of the early difficulties of sound and how sound kind of started creeping its way into the major motion picture companies. In 1925, Sam Warner insisted that they begin investing in sound technology. By 1926, the studio had lost over $333,000, which is the equivalent to about like $15 million today, just in their first year of having sound. And that's a lot of money back then. Production companies pushed back on it. Actors pushed back on it. It really wasn't until The Jazz Singer came out in 1927, starring Al Johnston, that audiences and Hollywood became convinced of the potential of sound. That movie made a bunch of money, and they did that. From that point forward, Warner Brothers became known as one of the major prestige studios in Hollywood, producing a number of highly successful films like Noah's Ark in 1929, and a bunch of other things. Also, a lot of people don't know, they are also partially responsible for the creation of the Academy Awards. The Academy Awards was an effort built by Warner Brothers executives as well as MGM executives, particularly Samuel Goodwin and all of them people, to create an award show to award themselves. And they wanted to reward their stars and their directors and their talent for their hard work. So they created their own award show, which became the Academy Awards. And they used, of course, studio money to do it. Eventually, the Academy became its own enterprise, its own situation, but it did start partially because of Warner Brothers. From during the 1930s, they made a lot of successful Broadway adaptations. They also became heavily known for the gangster movie genre, those old WB gangster movies. You know, whether you're talking about Public Enemy, Little Caesar, Scarface, all these classic 1930s gangster movies. That's kind of what they got known for. When the Hays Code came in the 1940s, they had to scale down a lot on violence and sexuality in these films. So they really had to switch it up. So they switched it up. They started making prestige pictures. They started making a mixture of prestige pictures and low budget B pictures. They kind of diversified their roster in a lot of ways. They had the movie The Life of Emily Zola, the 1937 film that won a bunch of Academy Awards. They are also responsible for the birth of Ronald Reagan. Not great. And then, of course, late 1930s, early 1940s, the war starts. People need optimism. What they turn to? Cartoons, aka Looney Tunes, baby. Looney Tunes started coming out in the 1940s, really gave the studio another breath of life to the point where Looney Tunes was so successful as a theatrical model and as TV serials that literally to this day, Bugs Bunny is still the company's mascot to this day. 1950s comes around, you know, they are trying to figure things out. They are still trying to figure things out. Things aren't really working out. They are kind of one of the big studios that are kind of collapsing under the weight of the end of the musical era and the classic Hollywood system. But as one of the commenters mentioned earlier, they were the quickest to adapt. They adapted quickly and managed to start producing a lot of great independent, or not independent, but kind of revolutionary films. Now that the Hays Code had kind of faded away and, you know, movies are kind of getting back to what movies used to be in terms of like risqueness and everything like that. Now they start experimenting a little bit more. 1996, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf came out, big hit. 1967, Bonnie and Clyde comes out, big hit. Again, movies that wouldn't have happened in the Hays Code because they're a little too controversial, but now the chains are unleashed and they're going in, you know? And now they're investing in early Scorsese. Now they're investing in Stanley Kubrick, A Clockwork Orange, starting an epic relationship with Stanley Kubrick that lasted multiple generations. And now we're getting into Warner Brothers in the 70s and 80s where they was cooking with grease. You know, they was cooking with grease during this era. Acquisitions, MGM, you know, they were making motions and moves that were just going crazy. Not to mention Warner Brothers TV also going crazy as well. This is also when they started signing licensing deals with Six Flags. This is when they bought DC. This is when they were really taking big swings. And yeah, and then from there, the 90s, I believe they merged with Time Magazine for a minute. That was kind of weird. Their TV division was really taking off though. And yeah, they, you know, you already know what happened in the 2000s. I mean, the 2000s is the golden era of Warner Brothers cinema. If you were there in the 2000s, you knew every July, mid-July was the Warner Brothers date, right? That mid-July date, you knew you was going to get one of the best movies you had seen all year, just from a fan perspective, right? That mid-July date used to belong first to Harry Potter. Then, okay, Harry Potter faded out. What fills in that slot next? Oh, we have a little something called Batman Begins. We have a little something called The Dark Knight. Dark Knight, 2008, mid-July. Was it? I forget the exact day. Mid-July. Oh, man. Smackaroonie. 2009, Robin Hood, that one didn't do as good. 2010, Inception, oh, it's up. You got me locked in. 2012, Dark Knight Rises. 2013, I'm telling y'all, or 2011, actually 2011 was Deathly Hallows Part 2, Harry Potter. That mid-July release date was something special in the 2000s to 2010s. Because they were literally milking everything. And of course, that was also the era of Lord of the Rings. Like I mentioned, Harry Potter, Dark Knight. Mid-July, they were killing it. And I didn't even mention New Line Cinema. Didn't mention Castle Rock Entertainment. They have all these amazing subsidiaries. But long story short, they're a historic studio, a great studio. Is it the fall of Warner Brothers? I don't really know. Some people may see it as the fall of WB. I see it as a new beginning. I hope that, we don't see, like one of the great commenters said, we see the Netflix effect on certain movies, on certain Warner Brothers movies. I want to see the Warner Brothers effects on these movies. I want to see them. I want to see a Netflix release, a Netflix and Warner Brothers equivalent to F1, or I want to see them release Barbie. I want to see them release Chronicles of Narnia. I want to see them release James Gunn's Batman and Matt Reeves' Batman and, Superman and all these amazing properties that they got lined up, because it's all there. They have it all there. So that's my take on it. And then I'm going to go back to the comments. Karen said the prices are going up on Netflix. That's for sure. Joseph Ashley said maybe Speedy Gonzalez and Pepe Le Pew can come back on Looney Tunes. Are they too controversial for HBO Max? Are they not cool with that no more? Real One said, I see you channeling the great Jalen Brunson with the hair heartbeat. There's room for you in the orange and blue bandwagon, man. I'm a Laker fan till the day I die, man. We Laker fans, we up. Anonymous, Netflix doesn't have a vault. So will Warner Brothers' entire film catalog and TV series on the service? What about Warner Brothers games? Yeah, that Warner Brothers games is a big question. Will they get into the Warner Brothers games? I mean, that would be next level. Joseph, actually, one more thing about binge. If you ever create a show, I would like it be weekly, so I'll be eager to see what happens next. Like waiting in line at Randy's Donuts. Man, Joseph Ashley, you always come in with the relevant cultural references, man. I love it. I always thought about that too. If I had a show one day, would I want it to be weekly or binge? I would. Again, I'm a contrarian. I have my own mind, and sometimes my mind don't make sense. I would like my show to be binged, especially the show that I've been writing for a minute. It's a presidential comedy drama. I've already, they say you're never supposed to do this when you're like writing a TV show, but whatever, I did it. They say you're only supposed to write the first episode or like the first 2.5. So, and in my mind, it needs to be binged because literally things just happen from episode to episode that it should all be like enjoyed in one. But, that's me, and I'm weird, but that's just me. That's just me. And Karen said Warner Brothers had the best movies this year with One Battle After Another and Sinners. Yeah, 2 of the best movies. That Final Destination Bloodline had 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, turns out. Yeah, a lot of the top movies. Weapons was also one of the best movies of the year. Karen also said great movies like Casablanca. Yeah, I thought Casablanca was that. And then Real One said, chill. Shout out to Burtonverse Gang, 89 to 95, and not counting 97, and Batman and Robin. Every mid-June was lit. See, okay, so they used to have the mid-June release. The 2000s, they switched it to mid-July. That's crazy. Joseph Ashley, Coogler has a deal with Warner Brothers. He does have a deal with Warner Brothers. I don't know what that deal will still look like under Netflix. But again, if you have an event filmmaker like Ryan Coogler, you have to go theatrical. Like, you have to. Same thing with Greta Gerwig with her what is that? Narnia and her Barbie stuff. Like, that has to go theatrical. She's an event filmmaker. It has to. Real Ones, Zaslav was trash. Get all that HGTV off HBO Max. Yeah, trash. Karen says this will be a biggest story tomorrow on YouTube. Everybody will cover this story. Yeah, they're covering it tomorrow. I'm covering it tonight, baby. I'm covering it tonight. Like I said, I hopped off watching TV, and my mom said, "Mom, get out the house." No, I'm not. I'm kidding. We was downstairs watching TV. I'm upstairs in my office. But yeah, literally, I was like, "Yo, I have to get on and talk right now." Again, yo, shout out to John, man. Shout out to you, bro. I saw it on your story first, and I was like, hold up. Let me get to it. Let me get to cracking, because nobody else was talking about it. Karen said Lord of the Rings. Yep. And then Joseph actually said, oh, no, the Batman games. Yeah, the Batman games. Those have been up and down for a while, though. X Gold Controller said, with how eager Warner Brothers is to grow their market share in theatrical and streaming, do you think they will scoop someone else up? If so, who's their next target? They shouldn't scoop up anybody. I mean, I don't want to see Paramount or Skydance touch anything, any effing thing. Honestly, buy Angel Studios or buy, like, you know, some outlet or some name that like nobody wants, or some production company or some studio that nobody's really looking for. But don't try to go after another mega studio. The fact that Paramount was trying to buy Warner Brothers, like, did that math even make sense to y'all? Did that math even make sense to y'all? Like, the last Mission Impossible movie just bombed. It just bombed. And Naked Gun didn't do the money that they thought it would. It did well, but it didn't do the money that they thought it would. And, you know, the last mega hit they had was Top Gun Maverick in 2022. Like, meanwhile, Warner Brothers is having the year of their life. Like, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't make, the math just doesn't math. Like, how is Paramount going to have this dog crap year and try to put together all this Saudi Arabia foreign money to buy a studio that's killing it? It just didn't make any sense. And that's also the thing you just got to think about in the business world. Like, who's killing it? What, you know, the weaker company is never going to outbid the stronger company. Netflix was the strongest company in the competition, and it wasn't even close. Universal is pretty strong too, but you got to understand, Universal is a strong company. They have a lot of profit. They also have a lot of overhead. They have a lot of overhead thanks to the parks, and they haven't figured out streaming yet. Peacock is not figured out. Peacock is a money loser for Comcast right now, and they're still trying to figure that out. They can't figure that out, how to make streaming work for them. It's only 3 people have made streaming work. Netflix, the OG, Disney Plus, because they have a flood of money and a flood of influence and a flood of IP, and HBO Max, barely by the skin of their teeth every year. And I don't even think they make it. I think they just use like accounting tricks to say that they're profitable. But I like, even if you look on their like publicly released balance sheets or whatever of how much profitable they are, it's always something crazy like $10,000. Like, they barely made profit versus like the other companies are like way over. So that's why I kind of think like HBO is kind of an accounting trick. Disney's successful because of IP and brand loyalty, and Netflix is successful because they're the OGs and they've been doing it for the longest, and they ain't got a bunch of loans and stuff. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking, y'all. It's a lot going on, man. We pushing the 2-hour stream. Gosh dang. And yeah, X Controller, you said it best, man. 16 Billy versus 70 Billy. 16 Billy versus 17 Billy. Real One said no one protested the possibility of Paramount owning Warner Brothers. Wonder why. Yeah, nah. I mean, some people didn't protest it. I was privately protesting. See, there's a problem with not, having First Cut Live. I don't get to tell y'all my thoughts on everything like in real time. I wish I could have been talking about this more actively, but this whole time I was like, please no Paramount. I was kind of like not actually praying because I have better things to pray about, but like, kind of secretly hoping like, please don't be Paramount. Please, please, please. Because we know Paramount's like Trump country at this point. Nobody trying to rock with that. Especially Warner Bros. Discovery. X Control said, then again, somehow Discovery bought Warner Brothers like yesterday. Yeah, but again, we saw how that failed. Like, you can only fail upwards so many times, and it wouldn't make sense. Paramount would have been failing upwards again, and they barely fell. Like, Skydance is like the idea of Skydance buying Paramount, a production company buying a studio, is like, that math already doesn't make sense. It already doesn't make sense. They're already stretched in for dollars. That's why they had to go to all these Saudi, foreign bankers or whatever to try to get the money to buy it. And when Netflix comes to Warner Brothers, it's like, hey, if you want to get bought without a bunch of loans, without a bunch of Saudi money, without a bunch of Trump alliances, hey, just come over to Netflix. We'll pay you all cash right now. We got all cash. It's like when you're buying a house, when a realtor is like selling a house, and you have one client who is, going to pay a 15% down and going to get the loan money to do it. And they have a decent credit score, but they're working 2 jobs and they're in a flexible kind of industry and they don't really know how long they're going to keep this job for, versus the rich doctor who is ready to pay $2 million all cash for the same house. Which one do you sell to? Do you sell to the $2 million all cash, or do you sell to the one with the 15% down payment and it's going to take out a bunch of loans and is going to have to work 2 or 3 jobs to make it work? No, you sell to the guy with the $2 million cash. And that's what this deal was, basically. Yeah, Karen said you were one of the first. Yeah, I'm trying to be the first, y'all. We're trying to be the first to everything. As controller, shame Comcast wasn't able to complete his bid, compete in the bidding. Yeah, it's tough. Again, a lot of overhead with them parks. And Karen said, yes, Netflix, WB is going to win the battle with Disney and Hulu. Yeah. Netflix they're already the number 1 streamer. They just further solidified their place. And again, the argument that they're going to make, which I think is a valid argument, is that they think of themselves as not a streamer. They think of themselves as a space on the internet that is competing with YouTube. And I think YouTube is the next spot that they're gonna really go heavy on competing with, because they just can't match the content that's on YouTube. So, man, we've been streaming for 2 hours, gang. It's been a long stream. It's been a long night. It's been a long day. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for tapping in. Appreciate y'all. Much love. We're coming back heavy with First Cut Live December 15th. We also got an episode of Real Ones. Real Ones is returning with me and John Mayer, Mr. Mayer knows. Real Ones, subscribe to Real Ones in the comments right now. We got some clips that's gonna be coming up soon as well. So it's all happening, y'all. It's all happening. Things are happening. The industry's happening. It's a good day. It's a decent day. It's a decent day because even though we're seeing the loss of one of the big 5 studios to a streamer, at least it's to a streamer and not to another studio. And at least it's to somebody that has money. And at least it's to a company that's not a blatant Trump affiliate. So I am very, very happy with this situation. And I think in terms of layoffs, I could be wrong. I mean, we'll see as all the reporting goes down and all the dust clears and everything. But I think in terms of layoffs, this is probably the best case scenario because there's so little overlap in a film studio versus a streamer that I don't really know if they have to do this whole crazy layoff thing. Like with Fox and Disney, the layoffs came because they were overlapping in film studios, right? Like they both had distribution arms, they both had marketing arms, they both had arms that just overlapped with each other super, super heavy. And when that overlap happens, they got to cut jobs. With Netflix, they don't have a theatrical release arm, they don't have a distribution arm like that. They probably have something to that extent, but it won't result in like these crazy layoffs. At least I don't think. I could be proven wrong. But yeah, I'm hopping off the show today, y'all. It's been really fun rocking with y'all. Great keeping up with the chat. Thank y'all for the super chats. Support the show. Hit that like button. And yeah, thanks for watching, y'all. Peace.
Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
This ain't funny, so don't you dare laugh. With the 4/5 divide you in half. You getting at me equals a bloodbath. You do the math, take you out the equation. This ain't funny, so don't you dare laugh. With the 4/5 divide you in half. You getting at me equals a bloodbath. Only one can remain. It's either me or you. Only one can remain. It's either me or you. Only one can remain. It's either me or you. Take you out the equation. It's either me or you. You do